And welcome to Comics Covered. I just noticed Matt's so much higher than me. I'm going to try to fix this. But Comics Covered is our weekly kind of review of the week of everything happening in the comic world with your hosts, John and Matt, the co-founders of CoverPrice.com. And we have a fun show today. I think a pretty insightful show, don't we, Matt?
No. Are you drinking kombucha?
Yeah, I am. I love kombucha.
Kombucha's pretty good.
So, Matt, do you know what's going on tonight?
Yeah, it's Friday night.
It's Friday night, yeah. Something else, something kind of epic, but like weirdly epic. It's not even like I don't even know how to describe it. Boom! It's the Tyson Paul fight. Ding, ding, ding.
Now I'm so out of the loop on this. Like, why is this a deal? Is that like is Logan Paul? Is it
Logan Paul?
John Paul George?
No, that's a Logan Paul. So no, it's crazy because back in 1990, my dad took my brother and me to a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. Remember Campari's over there near LAX with the horse, the statue? Anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. We went there and we watched the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson fight, and Tyson destroyed him. And I was like, that's a scary guy. And I'm not a big like fight watcher or anything, but I am excited to see a 58-year-old man fight a 27-year-old.
But he's not like a professional fighter, is he?
Well, he's been training, and I guess he just made so much money creating content and whatnot that he now like hires like professional fighters to fight him. And I don't know if it's a stunt. I don't know if he's just gonna, whatever. But Tyson looks big and freaking mean, dude. Like, he's been training and he is ripped. And the guy, I mean, he's just got the muscles of a jaguar, like he's ready to pounce. So I don't know. I'm just stoked. I think it's pretty crazy. And yeah, like Collector 34, there's a cover that actually is an homage to the fight too. I think there's some comics that are probably doing AI stuff to it. I think.
Matthew Waite did when they were talking about it last night on the Shaker show. Matt Waite. I don't know if Matt prefers Matthew or Matt, but us fellow Matts like Matt, because Matthew's like what you get yelled at when you're in trouble. I don't see it on his Instagram. Maybe it's this one. Oh wait, here we go. I'm super sure.
Yeah, he was higher than me, wasn't he? Zabbit.
It's cool. I'm cool with it. All right, here we go. Here, one sec. I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm gonna switch over in a second. Here's the Matthew Waite cover, and I think that's Matthew Waite right there pointing, if I'm not wrong.
That's cool.
Right.
That's cool. I mean, it's
so he did that cover. Yeah,
that's cool. I'm just kind of laughing because it's like it's an exhibition fight. It doesn't mean anything. But like when else will you see a former heavyweight champion at 58 fighting a younger guy? It's gonna be a cool fight. I mean, I'm hoping Tyson wins because it'll mean that I can age and still be badass. Rather than
that you too can fight like Mike Tyson.
That's right.
We'll see. Back in the Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff, wasn't there a song called like What If I Fought Mike Tyson? There's something like that. I don't know. There was some. I just remember
he was huge. He was on Tyson's Punch Out. He went crazy. He bit someone's ear off. Holyfield. No, I forget who it was.
Here's a Bird City cover. Which is pretty cool. If you're an Altered Beast fan, what I wish they would have done is 3 different versions of this with all the different folks.
Dude, there's so many great werewolf homage movies. You can do like Teen Wolf. You could have done like Howling. So many good stuff. Anyway, sorry. So I totally digressed. I'm just excited about the fight. It's happening after this show. They have a couple preliminary fights, and then it's gonna. It started like right now, but it's gonna go for another few hours. But anyway, I'm excited. We're gonna be giving away a comic book today, right?
Yes, we're gonna give away. This is very Gary's New York Comic Con exclusive. It's Gang Grip Transformers. We're running out of Transformer exclusives because Skybound's no longer sending them out. So we're running to the end of our Transformer comics.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure out how to pivot to something else because there's just so much of it, and it's nice to give this stuff away because there's a lot of cool covers in there. So I still have quite a cabal of other covers in there. So Todd McFarlane Lady Death cover there. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I heard that everyone were getting those in this week. I wonder how. Did they ever say what the print run of that was, Igor? I wonder what they ended up on. I'd be super curious to know, how, the print to order thing went. I know that everyone was very excited about it.
What was the deal around that?
It's just Todd McFarlane doing Lady Death. Anytime you do, Todd does any cover, it's an event, right? And he did this one cover of Lady Death, and it was. The print run was going to be matched to the orders. So basically, if 933 were ordered, I would anticipate they'd have some padding there for damages, but I don't know for sure. But they were going to print to the exact number. So
that's kind of cool.
4,000. Oh wow. Well, that's good for Coffin. That's
yeah.
That's a pretty hefty print run.
How much did they come? How much were they?
I believe they were like 25. They weren't. I don't remember them being too expensive because I looked. I didn't order any myself, but I did look at it, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm like, I could probably."
That's $100,000 in comics right there. That's crazy. Crazy.
But it was definitely one of those I really thought about. I kept coming back to the page and thinking about it. I was like, this is the conflict of people who want every single cover, and you just have to make financial choices for yourself of what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy.
Speaking of buying, you finally convinced me. I went and got the trade for. It finally came out for.
Did you read it? Have you read the whole thing?
No, I haven't yet. I was reading East of West and stuff like that.
Hands down, my favorite book of the year. For sure.
Loving it. If you didn't see it, Beneath the Trees, where everyone sees or where people don't see.
I absolutely loved it. I'm glad that they're going back to it, and that they're going to keep going back to it. It was one of the biggest surprises I had. Brian also finished 2 more Kickstarters. Oh yeah, he just announced, and one was ending today too, I believe. A Kickstarter for Coffin. I mean, there's a conversation around that one day of just there's creators who have built a business off of either one concept or one character, and Brian Padillo is obviously done more than that. He's there's so much more to him than Lady Death, but the fact that you can he just produces a ton of different Lady Death variants and they all sell really well. I always tell people, you go to conventions, always pick up a Lady Death variant because they always do well in the aftermarket. And then we are also talking about Marat Michaels. Whether you love or hate them, the Do You Poo books, he's created a business out of them. Mm-hmm. One book. He wrote one book.
We were talking with him at New York Comic Con.
One book. And he's just been riding off that cover for ages. It's so, but as much as you might not be a collector of these things, there is an appreciation for anyone who's ever able to turn this stuff into a business and find success at doing that thing.
Speaking of turning this into a business, I know today we're going to talk about if the market's dead or not. And I know before that we got to that, you wanted to go to the top 10. But the main topic today, as you can tell by the title card, was here. Let me go to it real quick.
Wait, Brian Patillo's a goat? No, he's a man.
He's a man. You guys are getting it wrong.
You don't even know. You're so high right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's gonna be the whole thing. Cover Price. I mean, as you guys know, we are a price guide and a collection management system, coverprice.com, and we collect tens of thousands of comic book sales every single day and put it together. And so we thought, there's this huge conversation in the market, how is the market actually doing? We're in a pretty good position to be able to have an opinion about that. So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been wanting to get to. It's something that it comes up on tons of shows on social media, and it's a lot of people are looking at the industry in a very specific way, at the things that they were focusing on before, and they're reviewing the things that they were focusing on before. And the special thing, I feel like we talked about this, but we're going to do a whole focus on it. The thing about this industry is it's constantly pivoting and moving and shifting into new ways and new collecting styles. You have new collectors who will shake things up, like we had during the COVID era. There were new collectors to the market that shook things up. It's a very big conversation, and something that we're not going to like. I wish I had more data points coming into this, but our dev guy just didn't have time. But this is stuff we'll have on the front end eventually. It's just we got to like pull everything in. But you're right, I'm definitely high.
Matt, come on. It's still work. It's still Friday. I don't know why you're partaking.
The thing that was very frustrating as a Lady Death fan was understanding that Adam Hughes Lady Death is not the same Adam Hughes, the variant artist. It took me way too long to discuss that. I know it now. I've known it's not like even in the past 5-10 years. But I was like, oh, it's an Adam Hughes cover. And it's just, no. Adam Hughes was the original artist on all the early Lady Deaths. Stephen Hughes, thank you. Sorry, but I would see Hughes. That was the thing. I would see Hughes, and I would always think it was Adam Hughes and not Stephen Hughes. Thank you, Brian. Sorry. Yes, you're correct. Stephen Hughes, but I'd see the Hughes name, and I always thought it was Adam Hughes. And I thought it was always like, I would pick up signatures, Hughes, and it was like, nope, wrong dude.
Popular name, Howard Hughes.
Comic Tone did a good job getting folks into collecting. It's like you can definitely give Tom his fair due for sure, but it goes back even before then. Like even before Tom stepped into the ring, there were friends, and I really have to give a lot of kudos to CBSI. Like really, back in the day, we know we talk about this all the time, but the G Plus group that then turned into a site, it was really, I kind of felt like the formation of some of where the market was at the time, and then it pivoted to a more broader, open things that then, I mean, honestly, actually, Comic Tom got his start partnering with CBSI. That's how he got popular, was doing their top 10 for a while. And then he did his own thing, and now he's a huge name in the comic book community.
Yeah,
and that's not to take anything away from him. I mean, that's just what happened. CBSI was the reason for the second speculator boom in the early 2010s. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I literally think if not for CBSI, you wouldn't have had. We didn't know the names Art Germ and Perillo and Matina. Sorry, Matina. But like there's so many artists that came out of that spec boom, and the spec boom was very broad back then. It was new books, it was content books, it was cover books, it was ratio. It was like this. It was like everything was speculated. So it's I mean. It's kind of interesting to like kind of dive into where the market was pre 2019, 2020, and kind of just give you like the also just right now going into talking about like where things were back then. The market was an everything market. People were reading books, people were speculating on independence, like back during when Walking Dead, the show, became popular. Every Image #1 was hot again. Everyone was picking up every single book. Morning Glories was hot. Peter Panzerfaust and I mean, like you could name like any Image book. Manifest Destiny. Like there were all these books that were just super super hot because people were speculating that they were all going to be content one day. I generally miss Wizard. There is a channel that goes through Wizards, JSS Brooklyn, they go through every single issue of Wizard. It's called Wizard on Twitter. It's like channels Wizard.
And don't forget, like, Wizard is the thing that inspired Matt and I to do Cover Price. I mean, it really was such a, like, knowing what your comics are worth, going through it. Yeah. Although it sucked trying to find your comic in it because it was such a small printed catalog in terms of the actual font. But
we had a good conversation with Gareb Shamus at New York Comic Con. We actually were chatting with him for a while. If you don't know, Gareb Shamus was the creator and the head of Wizard all the way until the very end, until the magazine and the conventions were sold off to another company, who then ran it as a convention. It became a C-list celebrity convention, and then was sold off to Fan Expo. So Fan Expo, all those new conventions that kind of popped up around the country, those are effectively what were Wizard conventions.
I mean, we've been called Wizard 2.0, and like we've actually even played around with like how can we support like that mentality as well.
Specifically, but the Wizard 2.0 was from Rob Liefeld, and I think he didn't mean it as
an insult.
He meant it as an insult. But we said thank you.
That's a nice compliment. I mean,
Brian, having Gareb on the industry show would be fascinating because, I mean, you think of the 90s era of comics, they were there to shape and form Image and bring Marvel back to life, and at the forefront of everything content-based. When speculation on content didn't exist, I mean, granted, it was like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, Superman, Batman. It wasn't like there were books that no one could buy the first appearances of, even then, when they're like even much cheaper. Like AF-15 is damn near affordable in 2000 compared to now. But yeah, Wizard, I mean, we grew up on Wizard. We don't try to bring Wizard into the site, but the feelings of the tonally, some of Wizard is infused into it. Because that's just what we knew back then. I mean, to the point I want to add a top creators section on the site one day, just because that's, I would love to see. There's a little bit of that. Rob is one of the best people to talk to, but he's a force of nature. He's like, it's fun. I feel like you make it if you have a Rob story.
And we got a Rob story, which is kind of cool.
And we have a Rob story, so I feel like we kind of like we're indoctrinated into the fact that we could talk to Gareb Shamus and share Rob stories was so much fun. So I gotta thank Rob for having Rob story.
And I mean, like, mercurial and wonderful is I guess our description. Anyway, let's move on to
Youngblood was my very first comic, my first superhero comic. So.
Why don't we jump into the thing? What do you want to talk about? Did you want to talk
just roughly? I kind of like to peruse the top 10 a little bit and kind of go into some of the overall trends that we're seeing, and then I'll actually tie into what we're talking about a little bit more.
Peruse away, man. Peruse away.
I mean, it's fun. Like if you look back at our top 10 from when we do these reflectives, especially if you go back 4 or 5 years back, even 3 years back, so much of it was content based. Like 1 through 10 was always related around something happening in content, a first appearance, whatever. You look at this top 10, there are 2, well, let's say 3 that are content based. These last 3 here, this is pulled from the poster for the Captain America film. And then Emily Lestrange is getting a film, I believe, or maybe a TV show. And then Mass Effect is also getting a TV show, I believe.
There's no Thunderbolt heat happening, huh?
Just as the end here. So the problem, this is the overall recent trend with content. The boom is upon the first announcement. The boom happens upon rumors, right? You get a little jump. Then once it's confirmed, you get a huge boost. And then it just starts dying. Then you get a little bump at a trailer. and then it just goes down all the way out until release.
Matt,
And then
Matt literally mapped that out in one of our talks about
I wish we had that graph. I wish we could show that graph. I don't know if you could find it, but that'd be fun to throw up real quick.
Give me a second, but I'll take a look real quick. Go for it.
That content graph that we did for that's a whole different show we should do of the ecosystem of the aftermarket, or the effects of content on comics. We did that as one of our panel presentations. But so now you have Red Hulk. It's been up and down for probably 5 years now. And so now you're like, everyone has a copy, and now it's time to get rid of the copies. And then when that happens, it's literally clockwork. When everyone unloads their copies into the aftermarket, good old supply and demand kicks in, and it's like high supply, low demand, price starts dropping, right? So it did get a little bit of a bump with the recent updated trailer. Now, if Red Hulk survives the film and is around for a while, it could be a book that could do a little bit better post-release. So I think, but everyone's kind of very shy around buying books around Marvel these days because we didn't have a great past three years, right? Like it was pretty rough. Yeah, I just love to see those graphs and data and stuff like that when you come on this show. Yeah, we'll bring more to that, Brian. We'll have to pick a topic and plan on it. We did a presentation on how the aftermarket saved comics and how the aftermarket continues to sustain comics. We did one on content, the effects of content on comics and the industry as a whole. And then we did one on what was the last one we did this year for San Diego?
Oh, the variant age. What the new age
is the time for a new age, and we went through the various ages of comics and how like the modern age is too big; it needs to be broken down. It's time. And we went through all the various, basically the timeline of those various ages and what actually ushered in the various names and why people picked these time frames. We actually did that presentation on one of our first shows for this channel for Comics Covered. So if you want to go back, that was actually a pretty good presentation. We should probably go back and rename that episode appropriately instead of just Comics Covered because it's very generic.
Yeah, I mean, and we can always do it again. And I was just going to try to find it. It's too buried in my filing system here that I won't be able to find it. It'll take me the whole show. So,
how much of a bump Sam Wilson Captain America will have in the next month or two? Honestly, when it's this close to the release, the effects are going to be minimal. Because it's at the time when people are going to be unloading the copies they've been collecting for the past 4 years. It happens every time. The only things that may see an okay return is if there's something like a very rare book in the mix of that. If there's something that's really hard to get, you could see. Yeah, you will always see a drop up until release now. The only times you'll see a bump is if it's like Emily the Strange is a $250 book because it's very hard to find. It wasn't a highly speculated book. Not a lot of people were picking up kid books, especially Emily the Strange was very popular. She was already a very popular children's book. So like a lot of people kind of overlooked that stuff at the time. So like this is a very expensive book because it's not easy to find out there. But the problem is these Red Hulks, you can throw a stone and find a Red Hulk, a Hulk with #1. It's pretty. They're pretty peppered through the industry because it was a big deal in 2008 when Red Hulk was coming around. But
Derek makes a good point. General public is going to go after Sentry and see a bump there
again. Yeah, if there's a character that has a breakthrough moment, like we just did a reflective on Riri Williams, I believe last week, or this past one actually. And we were talking about how Black Panther 2, there was all this excitement. She was probably one of the top speculated characters in the past 10 years. And she was a plot point in Black Panther 2. And her armor was awful. I like the actress. I thought she did a good job. But it was like one of those things where it was disappointing to everyone. and that's like fact. There were plenty of people who liked it, and there were a lot of good moments, but that kind of killed that momentum behind that book. So now the thing is, we're going into Ironheart, and hopefully Marvel learned to are going to fix the mistakes they made. I think we'll see Ironheart books go back up, and we'll see Hood. The Hood has completely there's nothing moving on the Hood. So it kind of goes with maybe Sentry, the Hood, and even Riri will have some.
Although you said never to spec on villains.
Yeah, but the Hood is interesting because the Hood is one of those characters. If you look at the Marvel trope of villains, of relatable villains, the Hood is a relatable villain. He's a guy that's trying to make his life better.
His demonic possession. Who doesn't have this? Have to deal with?
He's trying to make his life. I mean, doesn't he have the Phoenix Force now or something like? I don't know. Yeah. The Hood is an interesting character because he has more realistic ambitions, and more grounded ambitions. I think he'll be an actually interesting villain. I just hope that they don't kill him off or get rid of him by the end of the show. Yeah, Bendis made the Hood.
It'd be cool to see him go against Kingpin and all that stuff. And doesn't he? I mean, in the comics.
Yeah, Igor says Red She-Hulk. I think they're trying to figure out She-Hulk again because I heard, I don't know if this is fact, but they let go of the actress, or she complained about that her scenes were cut from Deadpool, and then there was some disagreement. I don't know how much of that.
Guess what? You're cut now too. Boom, like that. That was the conversation, I'd imagine.
I mean, She-Hulk is one of my favorite characters, so I would love to see them do She-Hulk, right? Yeah. I actually enjoyed the show. The show didn't bug me. I thought she did a good job. Yeah. The special effects actually didn't bug me too much. I liked the look of She-Hulk.
The Daredevil scene, that was like I said this before. That was how I think Daredevil fights. Like that's what I want to see in the new Netflix series with him because
I think it's going to be better. I think Daredevil is going to be. I hope is going to be the change.
Yeah,
that people just are going to be like, okay, now we're back on track. We'll see. Anywho, that's kind of like the overall. I know it's like 6 o'clock, so we'll just get it. We'll jump into it. But those are kind of the top trends. Is like it's nice to see story-driven stuff in here. We have cover buys. We have then we have a little bit of content. It kind of feels like we're in the pre-COVID era where everyone's doing everything in short, which leads us to our overall presentation.
I gotta say this just to add to that, like so much absolute on this list. I went to my local comic shop. Batman's completely gone. They did a huge promotion on it, but Wonder Woman and Superman were still pretty available with a lot of different stuff. So I don't know.
Also, Batman, my store said that they had to limit people on issue number 2 because it was and they over ordered and they still were selling out.
I forgot to swing by this Wednesday, but I tried to get that 1 in 50 on my pull list. I don't know if it happened. I asked them to. They said, "Well, I don't know if you're going to order that many." And I was like, "What?"
Okay, so Todd just says there's a Hot Toy She-Hulk, and now I gotta look that up. So I do need to buy some more Hot Toys because they're really really good sculpt.
Hey, while you're looking that up, the Born Again looks good. We went at New York. We saw a panel on it, and it does look really, really good for sure.
Yeah, that's like straight from the show. I guess it helps that she's basically a cartoon. It's like from the show, but that's pretty good. I don't know. That's a pretty good mold. Yeah, I'm with you. That's good. Hopefully I didn't pay $450, but
I was gonna say it almost looks like there's no joints. Like she's moving pretty.
No, if you haven't seen the Hot Toys, they're it's they look like statues, high-end statues, but everything is flexible inside. And that's all this stuff feels like actual clothes, and the skin feels like actual it has like a skin-like texture
Careful.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you want to see something like I wonder if it's on here. I mean, we are totally digressing here. Wonder Woman, it was a sideshow bust. I wonder if they have it here. Oh, Busty. That's not. I didn't even put Busty. Oh, I can't. The goatee. Okay. Stop watching, everyone. Oh yeah, here it is. So this is a life-size bust. This is a life-size bust. And like
my wife won't let me get that.
Can you imagine? You're like, hun, I need this. Don't ask why.
I bet you anything though, if you put that in your office or your bedroom, every time you come in and turn the lights for a split second, you're scared shitless because you're like, oh, okay, there's nobody in my room. Whenever you get like a life-size statue or something, it's always right there.
It's pretty darn amazing. It's also $2,200. So
yeah, we should jump into our main topic.
Yeah, we should get off of this. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Go. So, one thing about cover prices, we collect that by the
hour. Hey, that could be a business for sure. So Righteous Flip here, we'll start with this. Comics are slowly dying. If you go to a comic convention, you'll see mostly middle-aged men and older retired men. Also look at school data. Most students don't read much less for enjoyment. We'll kind of tap into that. There's, based on the bigger conventions, I'm sure the littler conventions are pretty. You might not be wrong. But like one of the things is we just came from New York Comic Con where there were almost 700 exclusives at that convention.
But in terms of age, I can say this, like, again, so coverprice.com, a lot of people subscribe to us. A lot of people read our content. We have a lot of data on, our members and stuff. And in terms of demographics, like there's people from all ages, right? From 18 and over. But the sweet spot for sure is like that 30 to 55-year-old, maybe even age a little bit heavier, like 35 to about 55, 60.
Sure.
Definitely where you see that big bell curve happen. So it's definitely an aging population, but with movies and with everything else, there's still a ton of, opportunities for young people to come into it. And they are, I think, more and more.
There's a lot of other conversations because, like I was just going to say, James just said the same thing. If you look at manga is outpacing comics in a big way. Kids, especially tween girls, are really into manga right now. It is becoming the thing to read in terms of so that's kind of where kids are essentially right now. But the nice thing is it's a step away from comics, right? And so kind of bringing them into stories that they feel tie into their life. I mean, a lot of manga is kind of like high school drama storylines, right? A lot of the stuff, or it's like way over the top.
I wonder if manga is more gamified than comics, because manga is short, like, I mean, especially the anime and stuff is like so clipped and short, whereas comics are a little bit longer form than manga to some extent.
Yeah, and DC's trying to tap into that now with their new format trades. Yeah, and Marvel did this back in 2008, 2006, I believe. I remember seeing they got into that digest size. Like, remember when Runaways came out? They did Runaways and Sentinel and a bunch of those other books in those digest styles. Like, I wish they would bring back, like, Sentinel was a really good book for kids. Runaways was a really good book for kids.
Runaways here someplace.
The thing is, a lot of writers aren't writing for kids the day, so there's not kind of like an open thing. But I would love to dig back and be like, what was the kid ratio in the 90s and the 2000s? Like, was it less, more? Like in the 2000s, comic books were on the verge of death, and then the Ultimate line came and kind of revitalized everything. There's I don't know if we'll ever see that data and know what that it would have to be. We'd have to talk to a retailer who was there, ground zero, and I think they would just tell you everyone and their mother came through the doors in the 90s. especially during the Image boom.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many kids stayed, how many people were coming repeat customers. There's
Mm.
things that stores could do more. There's things that publishers could do more. There's, I mean, it's not the most inviting industry into new collectors, because you talk to anyone and you go like the whole point of this conversation is, are comics dead? It's hard to like go into that, be on social media or go into like talk to someone and be like, oh, comics are dead. You don't want to get into comics.
That's actually a good way to start kind of this is like, what do you feel the
Yeah.
biggest sentiment right now online is regarding comics in terms of
Well,
the
you watch a lot of other shows and they all have this same title that we put, our comics dead, and they kind of go into this, hey, silver age books, golden age books, all the prices are down, and or comic prices are down across the board on old comics, and it's absolutely not true. What we're seeing is, one, and we said this before, that silver age, golden age are now for the elite collector, because it's not like something that's easily accessible to people on a budget, people that are just trying to afford their weekly pulls. Like I know, like pre doing this, or like when we first got married, I couldn't afford books, so it was hard to justify even spending $50 to $100 a month on comics. So the rule was like, if I found something, if I could sell books and buy books with that money, that was kind of like the thing. And I kind of just learned to use the industry to pay for itself.
Mhm.
Use the hobby to pay for itself. But I know not everyone has that accessibility. It was kind of one of those. I don't know. The economy does play a huge factor, and people are more cautious on big expenditures.
Mhm.
Um, I know a lot of people like to trade their way up into some of those books, which is how a lot of us did it.
Well,
It's just hard to go in and spend 10 grand on a book on it's just money that people don't have.
I think I think the COVID boom also set a weird ceiling where everyone was going into COVID. It created this big kind of like swelling of like, oh, the comic
Sure.
market's exploding, and now we're back to kind of normal to some extent, and everyone's looking and referring it to that, and that was an abnormality. That was the entire country being or the entire world being shut down. You know what I mean?
It was a lot of people were stuck at home. They're staring, they wanted something to do. They turned to nostalgia. They turned to I got into the trading card market around that time, and I was kind of in that that was a kind of a byproduct of that time frame.
Right.
And you kind of just do something to distract yourself, and buy. There were a lot of new collectors came to the space and over purchased, right? There were a lot of feelings that Marvel could do no wrong post Endgame, which we learned was not what happened. There was a lot of lessons learned that came out of that era, but we have the data to show that it wasn't that. It's actually different. If we want to like start jumping,
Okay, let's jump into this one real quick, Matt. Like,
so
so
this is from ICV, the website's ICV, where they did a lot of data from a bunch of the different publishers. This does include North American comic sales. This does
for new release comics though, new release.
But it does not include Marvel and DC. So I did look at the footnotes of this. So this is all comics except for Marvel and DC. So it's probably much higher in terms of like if you include that.
And that's, by the way, those are in billions. So, I mean, you see the jump from 2019, 2020, 2021, huge jump from 1.12 billion to 1.9 billion, right? And then, it stays up there and hangs out there for a little bit. But this is new releases, right? And so what do you think caused that jump from 2020 to 2021? Any speculation or ideas?
Well, the 2020 to 2021 was the COVID boom, right? Of new people getting into the space, new people buying into content related books, new people buying, it was just a lot of new folks into the space. But they stayed in 2022, maybe some left in 2023, but 2023, and if we were to look at this, it would probably be pretty static. What people are feeling is the slow sales are specifically on Marvel books. I would guess if you point to anyone who is looking at like books are down across the board, ask them if you're talking about Marvel books, because off of all the bad content, a lot of people learned that the same thing we talked about at the beginning of the show is that there's this stockpiling effect that happens for a few years. People hold on to them and they unleash it all right before the content comes out, and then that supply overwhelms the market. The demand starts to go down because it's like too much. They see prices falling, shies away people that want to buy into it, and a lot of people, all the retailers are getting competitive and dropping their prices. So that's kind of what that effect is. But we've looked at it time and time again. If you look at where those books were pre-rumor to where it ended up today, they're still up ahead. Content did ultimately give most of those books a boost. It's just some of those highs are crazy, crazy highs, and now they just settled back down. Like She-Hulk is right where she was pre-rumor. So it's kind of like, it was one of those, she had a huge boost with all, and then the show was meh, and then everyone kind of let their copies go and it fell back down. But like one thing that's kind of interesting for the projection, this is according to Yahoo Finance, the comic book market size is set to grow past this by 3.25 billion from now until 2028. So, it's still going to grow another $3 billion. And if you're asking like, well, who's reading this stuff? I mean, look at the boom on Batman. Look at all the variants. Look at all the absolute tiles.
All it really takes is one good title to get people back in shops and excited again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And it's interesting. In my collecting, I noticed in maybe 2020, 2021, up till maybe a year ago, I was cover collecting. I was just like, oh, I saw that. I want to get it. It might be worth something someday, And then now, like this year, I've totally gone back to stories. I'm totally like, I'd rather read a good story than buy a comic that might go up.
Like you look at this 43 covers. I mean, this is a lot of artists and a lot of retailers making money right here off this title. Like of all these variants. DC gets paid for every variant that they do. The artists get paid for every book they do. This increases the print run it just amplifies the already big print run for the first issue. So it's kind of like when you have these successes, it kind of teaches them a lesson. Oh, they want good stories. So literally by putting your money where you behind good stuff, you're going to get more of this stuff. Marvel's paying attention.
Publishers pay attention, man. Yeah, every conversation we've ever had was kind of like the strategy and how to create better content rather than like, and of course there's like pairing a good artist with it and stuff, but every conversation I've had with a publisher has always been kind of like, we want to make something cool and it's important that people like it. And of course, how do we make money off of it? And
then on top of this, the variant market, like we've had this conversation, it's like, it's easy to say, I hate variants. It's easy to say variants are overwhelming. There's too much. But we talked about this on the last show, the ecosystem of comics, it helps make money for publishers, creators, artists, and retailers. And then the printers and the colorists and a lot of people livelihoods are existing because of all this stuff. And whether you don't like it, it's like, and we're in a market where people are no longer investing in those books. They're just picking them up because they want them. And I know that I've become one of those. I used to only pick up exclusives if it was going to be worth something. And I no longer do that today because I don't know the same climate. And I think it's shows like Mr. Longshore's show and other shows that celebrate, like, here's some cool covers that you may have never seen before. And just a celebration around the covers and not just so much the price all the time. The price going up is a nice perk for sure. And that's what we ultimately want.
I was going to say, so one thing about cover prices. So we gather all these sales, and I'm going to show you guys a graph. Oh, there you go. So we took out some of the actual numbers because they're kind of our industry numbers and stuff like that, and we're not comfortable because competitors come and
we hummed and hawed. We had the old one up and we're like,
yeah. But I can say this: this is what we are seeing. So we're tracking the aftermarket. We're pulling in sales from multiple online places, auction houses, and things like that, and aggregated them all together. So in 2019, now there's caveats to this because, you know, Cover Price has gotten better and better at collecting comic books and doing that with greater accuracy, which you kind of see in this data as well. But you can't, we're talking, each of these graphs are tens of millions of dollars.
Oh, look at this. Look
okay.
at this.
So
look at this. it does sync up fairly well with what's happening in the new release market.
So what I was trying to say though is these are aftermarket sales collected for the month of October, for 1 month or year over year. So October. And as Matt was saying, like it syncs up quite nicely to what we're seeing in the new release market. But the aftermarket is really exploding. I didn't realize, like in October of 2025, was the biggest in the last, what is that, 5-6 years? The biggest.
It's the biggest ever. It's the biggest ever. We're well past what sales were in the 90s.
Now, granted, from a statistician like standpoint, we can slice and dice and find, you know, correlations across like genre, across region, across stuff like that, and eventually we'll get into that like level of detail. But at a gross kind of like big level, like these are the sales that we were able to capture and see, and you know, it's just trending upward. It's not like going away.
Yeah. I mean, it is really fascinating. And then I did a further breakdown. I wanted to go into, and I don't have the graphs to share. I just have the notes. So I'll kind of talk about what some of these include. Mm-hmm. So like when I'm looking at the numbers, there was a steady increase in graded sales until 2022. And then, until 2021, and then the volume of graded sales has been slowly decreasing over the past 3 years. But more money has been spent this year than ever before on graded books. So people are buying less, but spending more. So that was an interesting, and this is again just for a snapshot of October 2019 to 2024. The other interesting part was in raw sales, because I wanted to do the same exploration. Actually, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Graded sales was up until 2024. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Graded sales were up until 2024 when it dipped quite significantly, almost by half. But the same thing, more money was spent on almost half the books. So it's like you're seeing a slow a slowdown on people picking up a lot of those. What I would say, I don't think people pick up like the $100 slabs anymore, like the new books that kind of get pre-sold for $80, $90, $100. And now people are picking up kind of those hard to find variants, those hard to find books, some of the books in a premium pricing. It's hard to say exactly what they are. You'd have to dig into those numbers. But yeah, that was interesting. Raw books were up until 2021, and then the volume of raw sales has been slowly decreasing since. But the same thing happened. The prices spent have been going up, and the prices have been static over the past 2 years. Have been the same at the all-time highest last year and this year. So I think the median price of a comic book we kind of put at like $495 in 2023. And the median price of a comic book in 2024 was $476.
You know,
that's bringing every raw comic into one.
Yeah, we need to show volume and overall yearly averages, year-over-year average, and stuff like that in aftermarket, and break it down a little bit more. But from a high, I mean, the whole point of this conversation was like, there's a lot of people naysaying. We're just not seeing it. We're just not seeing that decrease based on we're probably one of 3 people in the world one of 3 companies in the world that actually have an insight into that at this level. And it's just, we're just not seeing like a decrease. So
and just being man on the floor, like it was crazy to be at New York Comic Con with 700 exclusives. And I feel like everyone was doing very well with their variant. Like there was sellouts after sellout after sellout, especially of some of the more notable ones that everyone was chasing. And I didn't hear of anyone complaining about they had a bad convention. I mean, I know there were retailers who spent also a ton of money to have a presence there and still felt like it was a good convention for them. In fact, they said it was amazing. So you know, that kind of tells me this is what we were telling someone else about this of how when most collectors are going to a convention, let's say they have a budget of $300 to $500 in their pocket to spend, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to buy one low grade silver or one really low grade golden age for $500 if you can get that at one shot, or are you going to try and space that over the whole weekend and then maybe buy exclusives and hopefully maybe you can flip one of them and get some of that money back, or even potentially what a lot of people do is try to pay for the trip by selling these exclusives. At least that's what a lot of people did at New York Comic Con over the past like 6 years.
Yeah.
And you can do that if you're smart about it, if you have a system.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of hustle. I would not want to ever do that, but a lot of people do. So like we were seeing, like that's where a lot of people are. They're buying these exclusives. They're buying new books. They're kind of heading back into their comic shop again. We see a lot of cover buys. A lot of people picking up books just for the cover. We saw trends like, I don't know if we can show like on our just right here. It's really interesting. This is not add to the space. There we go. We did our day after Wednesday article here, and this cover right here was trending at $30. This is the main art. I forget what book this is. It's called Calavera Pi Ani.
That's cool.
And it was selling for 30. There was one sale for 50, and I believe I should have checked there, so I don't know why I left it. But now it's $300. And there's only like one. Yeah.
It's a cool cover. Who's it by? Who did the cover?
But that hasn't sold. It's actually, so yeah, we are right. The last sale was that $50 one did sell.
Who did the cover though?
It's Gonzo.
It's
an artist called Gonzo. And JSS Brooklyn says junk. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I think it's a cool cover. I like the cover. Again, it could be junk to one person, but it could be something amazing to another person. What I'm excited about is I now want to learn more about Jay Gonzo. Like, I want to see this artist do more. And that gets me interested in it, and it gets me interested in this book, and I want to find out more about this artist, and I want to see him on some of my favorite books. It's one of the Beyond Wednesday covers of the year candidate. Yeah. So, oh yeah, if you guys want, Brian's doing has been doing reviews of covers of the year on his channel and reviewing those books. And I don't know if you're gonna have like, what's your big end all be all, Brian, of when you guys pick your actual covers of the year?
Actually, Brian, how about this? Why don't we, Cover Press can put out, someone said in the chat here, put out a survey for Artist of the Year, Creator of the Year, Cover of the Year.
Yeah, that's a good point. We can send a survey and we'll have people pick. Yeah.
We'll share all of our data and we'll see how it lines up.
Yeah, sooner or later, someone's going to wake up absent and realize that the prices attached to the comments may be highly inflated. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you go into a comic, you like, especially if you're buying a book like this, it is smart to realize your budget, not buy it for $300. Hopefully you're not buying it for $300 unless you're like, I love this artist, I need a copy now. You have to go into these things knowing that you want the book and this book is for you. The problem with this current market, or at least the past couple of years, is that it's a very impatient market. And this impatient market wants immediate value. And when you have that desire of like that immediate return, like this is a book that should have had a natural slow growth, right? But it was hard to find, so that's why it's commanding. There's only been 3 copies or 4 copies that have hit the aftermarket. Yeah, we have 4 copies that hit the aftermarket, so that's why those prices are up. But we're kind of back to this market of these independent publishers. I wouldn't know if I would call it Ani an independent anymore, but maybe they are. A 1 in 20 is a hard book to get for a publisher like that. Most stores are not ordering them, and there's opportunities there to get these incentives. But hopefully, you're getting them when they're $5, $10, $15, and not $50.
And I would argue that everything in the economy is based on what someone's willing to pay for it. You know, comics, especially collectibles, have a they have a shelf life as long as there's interest. But in terms of our current market, there's a ton of interest in comics. There's a lot of content and a lot of attention to it. And that definitely inflates prices and makes people interested. Before we move on, Matt, real quick, let me put this up. So guys, we're giving away this awesome Transformers, and very appropriately, if you want to enter, you got to write into the comments #rollout, as they used to say.
Is there a space in there?
There's no space. Capital R, capital O, no space, rollout. Start typing that into the channel, into the chat, and you will be entered.
We got She-Geek here tonight. Hey, She-Geek, what's going on? If you guys are not watching Nearing Nirvana, you guys should be. They actually are covering our runner-up list after the top 10 show every Tuesday. So,
yeah.
And for me, the runner-up list is always the more interesting list because it shows you the things that might be trending in the next week or two. It's always kind of like, I kind of call them the flares. And there's usually a flare that goes up like, hey, pay attention to me, and then the next week is like on the top.
I thought you meant more like flare, like
no, flare gun. Like flare. It's like, hey, poo, this book is gonna do something. Poo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I did the sound effect too to kind of.
I don't know if they make that noise, but we know what you mean.
Yeah, well, they go poo.
No, have you ever shot a flare gun?
No.
What's a flare gun?
What is Righteous Flipper says that's for? What do you have for of Righteous?
Yeah, of the cover you have on the screen.
Oh, this one. If you have 4 of that, yeah. Woo. Wait, like I think it's like again. Prices are, if you go into a book that a lot of this book would not have the value if there was 30 of them on eBay right now. It would be a $10, $15, $20 book, despite how good the cover is, because there's not a lot of people that know about it. But when there's only one copy listed and everyone wants it, it's kind of like that $300 sale is kind of like, it's definitely a fishing price, but like, it might get it. That's the thing. It's like I don't know whose book this is. You can see whose book this is. RCBDA 252. They're the only ones that have one. So it's kind of, I mean, he's got the book.
Let's go. Well, here, let me. So, guys,
go for it.
#rollout. Get in there. There's 47 people watching, and there's only about 26 entered. Yeah. Who doesn't like free comics?
Literally the only copy on there.
Yeah.
Roll out Autobots.
So I am eager to. I hate to say, I really, really want to go see this fight. So we're gonna do a hard stop.
It's time to make dinner anyways, so we're good.
What's that?
I mean, this is such a big conversation. We could talk about it for hours. It's just kind of like wanted to share some of our thoughts on why the market is not dead. Comics are still fun. Buy what you like. Yes to FOMO. FOMO your heart out on new releases. Get to your shop. Buy books, buy drinks, buy cards.
Within reason, don't go broke. Don't think you're gonna make a ton of money.
The thing is, I'm not saying go broke. Be financially responsible.
Matt said buy.
Here's the thing: I wouldn't recommend buying this for $2.99. Right? That would be I always say, be cautious of spending online. If you go and buy something on eBay, you're going to be paying a premium price. Always go to your shop, try to find it, make sure you're paying attention to FOC and new releases, and you're getting in on this stuff ahead of time, so that way you're not if you see a book, a cover you love, you get it for $4. Hopefully, that's what we're trying to do. We don't want you to go on eBay and pay $300 for that. I would love to. I want you to go to your shop, find it on the rack, and buy it for $10.
And at the end of the day, we did this business because we love comics and we love the industry, and it's so cool to see it, and we're so grateful that it's also booming and stuff like that. But it's so cool to see this thing that we love transform and evolve over the ages. It really is a cool thing when you really dive into it, because it reflects culture, it reflects people and sentiment. There's so much going on.
What's your thoughts on CGC having a layoff? I mean, whoa, man, that's a big conversation. Does that show the comic market not dying? There's this past year has been tough for CGC. We'll just say that, right? I'm sure there were things that they needed to shift around and people they needed to let go, and maybe there's a changing of the guard. I don't know what's going on there. I actually haven't talked to anyone there. But I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I don't think it's because they're going out of business or they're struggling. I think it was just a matter of, we had a bad year. Who was responsible for those things?
When you get bought out or you get investment, you have to then start proving your value to shareholders. And like, Cover Price is organic. We don't have to do that, fortunately. But we went down the VC route and looked at that, and honestly, it's good and bad. And I think when you do that, the easiest way to make money quickly is to lay people off, because people are expensive, resources are expensive. And it could be literally just like, hey, let's restructure, let's reorg and figure this stuff out.
And I mean, if it was graders and the graders weren't doing a good job, or they weren't they were getting lots of complaints on, maybe it was people handling books on the back end. There were too many damages. Like, I don't know the specifics of their day-to-day businesses. I just assume that what they're doing is probably, hopefully, going to make it a better business for us as consumers.
Yeah, I mean, they are the lion's share of grading companies at this point in time, like 90%, 80% of.
It's going to take a while for PGA to kind of step up and play in that. Even though a lot of people are talking about them, there's going to be a challenge for them to come into that space. I still would love CBCS to rebrand to Beckett. I don't know why they're still under CBCS, but that's not my decision. And I have lots of CBCS slabs. I have a lot of both. So it's kind of like it's going to be interesting. And us as consumers, I hopefully will win at the end of it all.
Speaking of winning, that roll out, boom.
Speaking of winner.
And the winner is Benjeroni. Congratulations. B-Jeroni. Congratulations. Reach out to me, John at coverprice.com, or Matt at coverprice.com. Give us your shipping address and we'll get this amazing Transformer comic out to you. And congratulations.
And go watch the fights. Go enjoy yourself. See if you can recreate it with your neighbors.
Don't do that. And thank you guys so much for watching us. Thank you for spending your Fridays with us. It is always an absolute pleasure to hang out with you all and talk comics. The one thing, honestly, it's the highlight of my week lately. It's really been nice. So thank you, Matt, for your insight.
And we have merch coming one day.
The next time I'm going to auction off a hat to you guys for, if anyone like super contributes, the first one to give us like a $10 thing. Not that you have to. I'll mail you a hat. But
I think we owe Mr. Longshore gave us some a super chat, and we owe him a hat. So I think he paid. He just paid.
We do have merch coming. It's coming. So on that note, guys, go watch the fight. Hopefully Tyson wins. I don't know. It'll be fun either way. Matt, you're the best. Stay cool.
Can there be a tie? Can't everyone win?
On that note, I don't think so. I don't think that's how boxing works, Matt.
It's just fair.
Matt's a big boxing fan, everyone.
That's right. I love Boxing Day.